All right, Sandeep, we should be going live in a couple seconds. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to another episode of the Transform Sales Podcast. Today, we are on an episode of the Sales Software Review series, and I have Sandeep, co founder of LeadLabs. Sandeep, today we're going to talk about LeadLabs for SDRs and AEs in SaaS companies and software and IT companies that want to slash hours of LinkedIn research into seconds and make sure that they always have a relevant message that they can deliver to their prospects that is backed by psychology. That's a lot to unpack. Sandeep, why don't you tell us what this means? Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Eddie, for the opportunity to present the what Lead Labs is all about. So before I jump into that, I'll give you a little bit of 30 seconds of what we have done. Right,
Awesome.
I come with that 23 years of experience in SaaS space B2B. Started journey my journey back in 2005 as an SDR, and spent good amount of time prospecting, setting up teams across different geographies. And one of the chronic problems that I observed during my past 7, 8 years of coaching career, when I was coaching hundreds of the SDRs and account executives, the adoption and operationalizing the playbook and show them that what good looks like was not very good at adoption. Only 40 to 50% were able to really internalize those learnings. So the idea came to me that why not productize all the tribal knowledge that I carry, and I've been carrying for past 20 odd years. And that's where Lead Labs were born. Idea is to so when we talk to sales leaders or especially sales development leaders, we often hear them talking about two challenges. We all want our reps to sound relevant and contextual, but in order to do that, they end up spending nearly one third of their time looking for signals and contacts on LinkedIn over researching. Even they did a good job of finding those signals and contacts, they simply struggle to connect the dots, losing nearly 40 to 50% of their prospecting outreach effort, which negatively impacts the SQLs and pipeline coverage goal, which might derail VP of sales from attaining revenue goals. So it has a snowball effect. So we decided to bring important signals, and then how to connect the dots by pointing and clicking, dragging and drop, so that as an output, you have a more contextual, relevant messaging, which connects people on an emotional level.
This is interesting, Sandeep. Thank you for that introduction. I've definitely seen a lot of sales teams that they do receive training. They do go through the classroom, through maybe the onboarding, where they tell them, "Hey, these are some tips, methodologies, be relevant." But it doesn't transcend beyond the training room. And as you said, once they sit back on their desk, they start scratching their head. They go online, try to find some signals, but they don't really have an order. They have the theory that that should be done to be relevant, really deliver value, but they don't have the exact playbook or steps by steps, or even if they have them, they're always scratching, spending some time, and research really takes a lot of time for some SDRs. And I think before the camera is rolling, you were telling me sometimes, um, well, yeah, it just takes a lot of time to research. So we are just discussing a little bit of how you can streamline that research through Lead Labs. But before we show a couple of these features, what are people typically doing today? Do they have any type of tool? Again, aside from what we said in the training room and the theory, is there another tool or something that they may be using, or is this pen and paper before they acquire Lead Labs? What have you seen there?
So a couple of things that I've noticed. When you walk around, inside the sales pod within the organization, if you give them a blank paper and ask them to write down their processes and how they go about crafting messaging, everyone almost will have a very different process and all this thing. Now that's a big problem, because if you cannot measure, you cannot manage or improve in
Mhm.
in, in my world. So we always scratch you know our head that why is there a huge performance delta between the best reps and the rest of the team. So we have got 20% of the people or 30% of the folks really knocking it out of the park by achieving 200% of the quota.
Mhm.
But you have a middle of the pack, which is like 40 or 50% of the folks really struggle to meet, that target and all. And then you have bottom of the barrel people. In my world, I don't want to shoot the weak soldier. So how about bringing all the reps on the same level playing field by bringing that consistency in the messaging, so that, everyone can gear towards achieving that target. And that's where we productize some of the unique things, um, in Lee Labs, that
Mhm.
allows us to. One of the unique things that we do is, incorporating disc analysis, which kind of tells me that what's your prospect's natural style of thinking, things they like, they don't like, topics they indicated an interest in, and how they like to be spoken with. Imagine your world where you know that how you want to deliver your messaging to a certain personality trait. So we kind of nailed that part. Now we are merging personal signals and the account signals, like manning both the world and getting that kind of a data. People talk about account signals all day,
Mhm.
but I want to look person in a salesperson. And that's how you connect people on an emotional level.
I like that. So you're talking about two things: individual signals and then the account or the company signals. We had discussed previously, there are a couple of tools, maybe extensions, that can help you get a little bit of a hint. You even mentioned disc personalities. Well, if I know what disc is, how to differentiate each personality, maybe just top of mind theory, and from what I'm reading on the screen, I may be able to get a vague idea of whether someone has a dominant personality, etc. There are some tools, probably something like Crystal, that may help you identify some of those things, but it sounds like they don't go to the extent to where LeadLabs can guide the sales teams into how to approach a potential lead. Aside from that challenge, that maybe some tools can help you get a little bit of a feel for the personality insights, some things, or some other tools for the firmographic company insights. It seems like they really don't put all of that together. What are the challenges with those things? Is it because they, again, increase time in research? What else have you seen?
Now, imagine somebody who's looking for account signals using Sales Navigator, get the insight page, how they're hiring, they get raise the funding, or probably they're hiring across the borders. That
Mhm.
is good signal for if suppose somebody is selling a kind of a compliance automation monitoring platform, because you were funding, you were pumping in money, you were expanding, you were hiring a lot in Europe, so probably it's a good time to get GDPR compliance. That's a good
Right.
signal to start with. But more often than not, people just kind of struggle to get all those things. And even they get those signals jotted down, the research to writing can easily eat up 20 minutes per persona, especially if you're selling in a mid market and enterprise. Now, imagine losing those 3 hours of research, and then that negatively impacts because you're not having that kind of account penetration and have more meaningful conversation because you're not getting those triggers. And even if you get that, how you build a problem hypothesis of different problems. It's all about selling the micro problem to rig the buying criteria. Now imagine your reps talking to battalion of buyers personas. They have different problems that they deal with, they want to get it solved for. How would you remember all the talk tracks, and where do you start if you're solving multiple problems and all? That's challenging.
That makes a lot of
Sec-
sense. Yeah.
yeah. And secondly, connecting people on an emotional level. Again, things that you're writing or posting. What was the purpose of your comment and post? What was your style of comment and the theme? Imagine picking those, using those your prospect language and words, merge with the value proposition so that you get that recall and hook, that somebody took the time to research about that person, and you're pulling off show me that you know me mentality.
I like that. Now, what I've seen in a lot of companies where they train their reps to do this, one of the ways in which they optimize their research is, fine, don't research before every lead, because as you said, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes per lead. I do my research. I'm now equipped. I just go ahead and have a 5-minute interaction. And then I go into another session of 20 minutes of research. What most companies have done, or some teams I've seen, they organize their research in chunks, right? Look, let's say I have to prospect 10 leads today. Then I do 2 hours of research, prepare everything, save it on my notes so that I don't have to make breaks as I'm doing the outbound. But I still have to spend that time at the beginning of the day, wasting sometimes precious time, prime time, that I could be used to do outreach. So why don't we go ahead and jump into a quick screen share where you show us what are those main features about LeadLabs that really streamline the research process for the reps and allow them to be more on the phone, more on the interactions, and have more conversations per day and hopefully convert more. Why don't you go
Yeah.
ahead and share the screen to see that?
Yeah, before I do that, let me take a step back because I think I missed
Yep.
the question that there are softwares out there doing that.
Yep.
Um, I mean, there are great products out there. The problem that we are seeing that these products are abandoning the ship before it gets to the shore. So all the good stuff happens that you analyze personality traits, categorize human behavior into different personality type that they are falling into,
Hmm.
but all the good stuff stops there. So I'm not vilifying any softwares out there, but what baffled my mind is that how you hold your rep's hand, and while you do all the research part, good on you that you found the software, but still you need to sit down, connect the dots, write those messaging. Now that's a tricky part because academically, email writing skills are not still very streamlined in the academics of the learnings. I mean,
Hmm.
nobody kind of is born to decide on that. Hey, I want to be great in sales. That's kind of an accidental phenomenon that happens.
Right.
So that's why we have the tools to make sure that everybody is playing on the same level playing field. All right. With that said, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to analyze a profile of my favorite Kyle essay from Launch Darkly. I'm a big fan of the contents, very realistic and practical. So let's jump into that.
Awesome.
So
Let's do it.
yeah. S-
All right. We can see
So
your screen now.
all right. Um, I'll come here. As you can see that Kyle, I've already analyzed. So LeadLabs is a Chrome extension. You can get it done, download it, 30 seconds, you're off the races.
Per-
Uh, by the way, Eddie, can you see my screen here with a
Yes,
full
sir.
screen? All right, perfect. So as you see that Kyle SA, he's a VP Global Sales, Growth Sales, definitely one of my personas that I want to reach out. So our Lead Labs kind of sit right on the profile, so you don't have to log into a different product. So it kind of merges with your reps day-to-day cadence because
Hmm.
naturally before you pick up the phone or reach out, you want to see who Kyle is, what's his natural style of thinking, things that he like and dislikes. So once I've analyzed, so I click on a button, it takes 30 seconds to analyze and fetch the personal and account signals. So we have literally analyzed hundreds of signals of Kyle, that what's his, even the headshot, the way what he's wearing, the about section, profile section, the way he is commenting and liking, what's his natural comment style? Is it sarcasm, humor, delightful, and whatnot? There are hundreds of things that we're doing, and it would bring that insights here. But I'd like to draw your attention. We're the only tool that has 70% of accuracy to predict what are your prospects' active hours. We analyze last 3 months of their activity, whether you were scrolling through or clicking on a button. Great way to time your messaging if you want to elicit greater response. You can literally achieve 40 to 50% of the connect rate either way on the calls or emails or LinkedIn.
That right there sounds incredible because a lot of times I've seen companies where they have a vague idea where their buyers may be most active. And these come from assumptions, maybe from long trials. But let's say they're starting a new campaign with a new persona. You don't have that. You don't have a baseline to get started. Well, guess what? Lead Labs is going to give you for that profile for when they're active. These are the best time frames for you to send a message, try to connect, try to have a conversation. They'll probably be there at their desk, probably doing another LinkedIn post. So you'll grab them right then and there. That's amazing.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of accolades from our customers that how it has improved their response rate dramatically, and the time to response velocity has gone down to 24 hours, and more often than not cases. Now, I'd like to draw your attention, Eddie, here. Think about Kyle. Let's say he's a DI personality on desk. So what is desk? It's a psychometric analysis, which has been studied for past 75, 80 years, predominantly used in staffing industry when you're hiring leadership. You want to know,
Mhm.
if the person is assertive, risk takers versus somebody who's analytical or skeptical kind of a person. You really want to differentiate different personality type. So looks like Kyle is a DI personality. I got a little bit of blurb about Kyle, what he has done in the past, where he studied, any quirky stuff, any fun stuff it can bring here. So disc is like dominance. These people are direct, you know, responsive, assertive human being who like small talk. They like fact-based information, ROI driven, throw in some numbers, talk about small wins. They're
Hmm.
assertive risk takers. Influence people, which is highly evident. They're outgoing people. They love socializing. They like, social recognition. They love collaboration. So that means you can throw in some social proofing or some kind of a case study, and a little bit of storytelling goes a long way with these guys. They're
Perfect.
your they could be a best champion. But people who are a CS or steadiness or conscientiousness, these people are they like either can support the change you want to bring or they can oppose it. They like preparedness from the sales reps. They like detailed case studies. They'll be analytical and skeptical. I don't want
Mhm.
to vilify anybody, but CFO and CTOs and CIOs, when you interact with them, if they are in one of those your battalion of buyers in the room, they'll love to be catered with a lot of detailed oriented approach. So
Cybersecurity leaders, for example,
yeah,
they don't just trust everything just because, and it's the nature of their business, right? Be a little bit distrustful by nature.
right. Even you're talking to the VCs and principals and senior principals, they're taught to say no, hard no. That might hurt you.
Yeah.
So these are personal. So I got personality inside of Kyle. Now I'm going to talk about things that he likes. He likes achieving sales target, leadership role, building framework, president clubs. I can merge these things in my messaging. Things that he doesn't like: complacency, lack of direction, interested topic. So imagine you're getting whatever you were selling, whether you were selling to CTOs and CIOs, even they are moderately active, you're gonna get these kind of insights. Like I said, we analyze 100 signals. Third bucket is your self-written content. We squeeze it out of the summary of the post. Few things that stood out to me or LeadLabs, I can automatically click on a button, use this, construct sentences that will help me connect people with the emotional level. So all the recent posts, what are the things that he's talking about, things that stood out to me, I'm going to incorporate that. And it
So
basically,
right here, sorry to
sorry.
cut you some deep. So right here, I can see how instead of scrolling through the profile, trying to find relevant posts, trying to read them and spend some time there, everything is brought right here to my dashboard. I can quickly not only click to see what the posts were, but the tool also gives me a highlight, a sentence, something that is a key point that then I can reference and sound much more relevant.
Yeah, exactly. The few things that stood out. So if I reach out to you and say, hey, Kyle, you know, just your post on uh, framework for sales professional to effectively measure the productive days was a spot on. One thing that stood out to me where you're talking about the goal is to score 8 points every day. But problem is reps are spending 15 to 20 minutes on research time might be deprived of enjoying earning those 8 points because 3 hours are lost. How
Mhm.
are you currently handle that? So I can just kind of merge and connect the dots and relevance there using the language so that Kyle is going to be more likely to see that, wow, this guy spent some time to learn about me. Whether or not, I mean, it's going to be yes and no, but at least he will feel obligated to respond because of his appreciation for the folks in the sales community.
A reciprocity, yes.
Reciprocity. Now, the fourth thing that Kyle also engaged with the contents list a day ago. He kind of made a comment on Kyle Coleman, who's the author. It also fetches all these things. What were the excerpts that came out from Kyle Coleman? Right? I can use this in my messaging as well. So I've got icebreakers. These are good conversation starters to go either on a cold call or you can use in the PS messaging as well. Works like a charm every time. And what
Perfect.
could be the probable problem and how you maximize the success for them. So these are from the SDR's perspective, but also I want to see that what's happening on a launch Darkly's world.
Hmm.
So I get a little bit of overview of the launch Darkly website, industry, all the common things that we found when they were founded, what their funding round was, more importantly, who they sell to, the below the line guy, what their pain points, needs, what value that launch Darkly can provide to the below the line guy. But at the same time, who are the above the line people like CTOs? But this time, they're a strategist. In my world, a strategist kind of beats the tactician sometimes. So their focus area. So instead of needs for BTL, and then you're getting the focus area so that you can tweak your conversation based on who you're talking to. Now I get like, what kind of market and vertical they're operating in, what vertical they're selling into, who their competitors are.
Mhm.
News and media, this is huge. That what's the latest and greatest happening in the Launch Darkly? Where they're attending an event, who's appreciating Launch Darkly, where are they being featured for what? Any product updates they announce, like September 5th, they made an announcement of some kind of a product updates. What are the opportunities? This actually steals my heart because this is so relevant that, hey, what was your revenue that you achieved in last quarter? What direction that your founders and co-founders talking about when they raise that kind of a funding? What
Mhm.
specific things that you're going into? Imagine getting all these things on a click of a button, maybe within 30 seconds.
I think that's the main highlight because we've seen things that, for instance, the funding, all of this, I would have to go to a separate site, load up Crunchbase, try to get an information, and not only the fact of going to other sites, but waiting for every site to load, scrolling on every site to read the section that I care. Everything is just packed here. For instance, we're looking at the tech stack, things that I had to go previously, again, Crunchbase, Data Nice, go to Google to read articles, try to see if they've been mentioned in Forbes. Everything is here. And I saw how even on the articles, there's the link for you. If you want to go ahead and read the full thing, you can go there. But guess what? We're bringing you the summary right here. So you don't have to. You can, but
Yeah.
you don't have to.
And that's the point, because like suppose text signals are so important for a lot of organizations. Now like if you want to replace Slack, or maybe they're using let's say 6sense, so you're selling like database provider and all, so you can really
Right.
kind of know, and you can save the real estate when you want to qualify your prospective customers during the discovery. You don't have to size them up, like just validate that. But also like what company level posting, maybe you are selling HR tech, who's talking about hiring what, how many people are being hired, how they have grown, and all those things, so you can bring all those kind of hiring signals as well
I
right
saw that.
here.
How many
Yeah,
job openings they have. That's incredible.
right.
Where
And
the people are located.
yes, so we do like it a country wise, because we don't want to break it down by city or states,
Hmm.
because obviously we don't want to clutter up with so much of information.
Hmm.
So that's your account signal that's going on. And imagine when it comes to writing the email, you can come here, you can select the persona. So you have to do one-time effort. Again, the question is like, how quickly you're going to get onboarded, maybe a couple of hours. So let's say you're reaching out to 4 or 5 titles of the persona. So let's say he's the sales leader, Kyle. He's a DI personality. So my messaging will be revolving around based on who he is, what things that he likes, and what kind of you know preferences and choices that he has. So I can select like email, LinkedIn. I can generate cold call with a permission-based openers and variety of different openers to A/B test, and then our 20-second commercial.
Hmm.
By merging the personal world. So let's say self-written content. He recently talked about like 2 days ago. It's going to be pretty much, on his radar,
Top of
because
mind.
sometime, yeah, top of mind. I selected the signal selected here. I can also select personal attribute, things that he likes. Maybe I can select the president club.
Hmm.
If I want to select the account premise, maybe I can select the funding round, or they're hiring a lot of people. So you can also get news and events, opportunity sections, or company-wide post, a lot of different signals to select from. But let's keep it simple for the demo purpose. So I selected a couple of signals here. I can also do engaged content, the content he maybe gave a like or commented. But again, I don't want to overcomplicate it. I can save it for my follow-ups and all this.
I
And then
like
we
it.
have a different framework, that what was the observation, what are the pain points, how you can further poke the bear and agitate the pain, and what's
Hmm.
going to be call to action. I can pass additional context as well, like, hey, use this from the interested topic or icebreaker just to make it more relevant. And I can simply click on generate content. I'll wait for like, maybe 4 or 5 seconds, and then it will give me like, 3 different variants to go with. Now, this is 107 words. So this is a red flag for me. I want to keep it shorter and simpler. I can use the shorten button. I can increase the relevancy. I can simplify things and keep it to like 70 words. But yeah, don't keep it to 40 words. Otherwise, it's going to lose context and relevance.
That's
So
incredible.
yeah. So I've got first one. Hey, radio post about achieving a daily point target, and it made me think about the time sales reps spend researching prospect by hyper personalized email. This inefficiency affects the sales team ability to score these critical productive days. What if there is a way to minimize this? And then it can also have those kind of relevancy. Hey, would you be interested in learning how to ship faster, safer, and smarter with innovative solution? It picked up website language of Launch Darkly, which is header one in their main website on the front page.
Hmm.
Hey, loved your enthusiasm for President Club. Perhaps you could start one for sales efficiency enthusiasts. So it kind of give you a little bit of quirky PS that you can always come and tweak it. Now, one thing that I want to highlight is no AI generated content can replace fully functional human brain.
Hmm.
So idea is to really eyeball on this, tweak here and there. Maybe the third line I didn't like it. I can click on increase relevancy. I can just change or tweak the first and second line or second or third line completely. Or
This is crazy.
I can simplify. So this is like eighth grade
Language.
email. I can, or language, I can
Hmm.
keep it to six and kind of submit, and it can kind of give me a completely very simple language as if you're talking.
Simplify, dumb it down, even if you need to, or
Right.
make it more complex. I saw that you can increase the complexity of the language.
Yeah. So again, this is a little bit of long-winded 113. Again, you can short on simple, but it has a different and I came across your post in achieving a daily point target in sales using a good day tracker. It got me thinking about the challenge reps press when they spend excessive time researching on LinkedIn. So again, it's trying to draw the parallel with the problem hypothesis. Also, weekly, we are also tweaking the model to make it continue to make it more relevant and tighter.
Hmm.
Again, this is a little bit of shorter one, the third one. So, it will throw some numbers because Kyle is a DI personality. Probably will be more receptive to seeing the messaging where you're talking about small wins. Throw some numbers
Some
since
data
he's a
points.
since he's an I personality as well. So it's throwing some kind of a social proofing that how companies are slashing research time and all.
So there's a lot of things that I'm liking here. So we just saw in the first part of the demo something that some of the other tools may do, right? Like we mentioned the crystal, we mentioned, yeah, you may have your Crunchbase extension, but not everything in one place. So we just saw the research part. But as we said before, a lot of that's where a lot of those tools fall short. Yeah, you go through training, they tell you, hey, use the ADA framework for messaging, or use this one where it's the observation, agitate the pain, etc. But those tools don't take you to the point where they are giving you some recommendations. So we just saw how you transition from researching, reading, picking the signals yourself into, hey, let's go ahead and draft. And sometimes I know what I want to write about, but drafting the message can be time consuming. So as you said it, hey, the tool is going to generate multiple templates for you, read them, pick the one you like the most, and instead of spending time writing it from scratch, tweak a couple of words, send it, you feel comfortable with it. The tool didn't do it for us, is not replacing the SDR, it's enhancing and putting everything in front of the SDR so that I can pick the right approach. I thread the needles basically,
Yeah.
and ultimately I control what I'm going to finally send to the prospect. So a lot of time saved, a lot of guesswork removed, yet I have the value and the things that I can send out and are gonna make me look good, sound professional.
Yes. And those from the SDR front, but fully functional A's also spend about 30 to 40% building their own pipeline coverage and prospecting. But also we have a playbook that kind of tells you high level the guidelines that what stages are you in
Mm.
with Kyle essay. Since he's a DI personality, it's hey, what should be how to write email or how to speak or what should be your email framework and all these things that's going on. But more importantly, if you are on a discovery stage, I would like to set up an objective and prospect pact with Kyle versus setting an agenda. So I can make a prospect pack like, hey, Kyle, I'm going to kick off this call by breezing through 5, 6 different questions. Hope you're going to be okay with that. Naturally, you'll be wanting to ask some bunch of questions. And at any point, if I think that I cannot help you out properly, will you be okay if I tell you that much? And agreeing to say, hey, it's okay not to be okay. We
Hmm.
can say each other yes and no without hurting each other's feeling, because yes is the best answer. No is the second best answer, but maybe it stinks. So during the discovery, I would absolutely focus on objective and the outcome, but things that I should be doing it and what I should not be doing it. But if I'm doing like on a demo, I would like to make a demo pact as well. Like typically these demos can go one of the two ways. One outcome could be you hate it like a canned bread. That's okay. Just let us know. We can part ways friends. The second outcome could be like, we really knock it out of the park. Then probably we can determine next steps, and these people can potentially get involved so that we can determine whether or not we move to the next step. Are you going to be okay with that? So I'll be doing different kind of things based on who you are, based on the personality trait that you exhibited.
It's incredible. So we just saw both for the SDR doing the prospecting, knowing what to say, as well as for the AE on all these different interactions, pricing, negotiating, objection handling, how to carry themselves in a much better way to increase the likelihood of converting.
Yes. And the idea is that is going to be real world objection counters that's coming up next week, where we're going to say that, hey, exactly, if you say I'm not interested, or send me some information, or I picked up the phone thinking about somebody else. Those are like, in first 10 seconds, how you gonna navigate around the objections and see that how you can earn those extra 2 minutes to keep yourself in the game. So we're gonna have those top of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, or middle of the funnel, then negotiation framework as well, that when you enter negotiation, how you conduct yourself. Those are going to be real world examples based on who you're talking to and communicating. We're super excited about that.
That sounds super powerful because a lot of times these objections may be just brush offs. And if you are not prepared, you don't know how to handle it, or you don't, or maybe you know how to handle it, but for a different type of personality, this will guide you and say, hey, this person likes to communicate directly. Use this, move forward. Now, I want to, this, everything has been amazing. I want to ask you something very important. What
Yeah.
would you say are the tasks, deliverables, or people that your clients, let's say your clients in SaaS and technology companies, need to set up or to prepare in order to have a good onboarding process of Lead Labs? And how long does it typically take them to reach full productivity, have everything installed, and have just their teams blazing through this?
So I think like the messaging has to be, the pain points, like the micro problem that your personas feel, and what value, unique value proposition that you provide to solve for those pain points, and then
Hmm.
expanded outcome uh, because of that problem that you are solving and the value. This is
Hmm.
where you need to come here, create personas that you're reaching out to, whether it's a head of sales, CROs, if you're selling a sales software, but also like set up like SDR manager, director, head of sales development, whatever. You get the idea. It's as simple as typing their persona name. So let's say CRO, and I'm selling Lead Labs, so I'll come to Lead Labs product, give a name. And you can also say that like an ATL persona, or then you can define industry. Are you selling to the SaaS or ITES or FMCG? Whatever you got, put in the
Hmm.
industry. Then unique persona pain point. This is very critical. And I think like, in my experience, interacting with hundreds of customers now, it should come from the rev ops or from the head of sales and all, who really know that what are the organization wide or organizational approved messaging of pain points and the value that product delivers, so that everyone can use the similar kind of the pain points and the value props. It
Sounds
takes
like
like
the
couple of hours. Chrome extension lives right on LinkedIn profile, merges with the day-to-day cadence, so you don't have to do any tab hopping, log into different product lines.
Mhm.
Pretty easy.
That's incredible. It sounds like the if the organization, if your clients have the playbook already mapped out, everything from the personas, the talk tracks, the value props, the objections, the pain points that they alleviate, the more mapped out they have that, the faster they'll be able to bring it into Lead Labs, and the sooner they'll be able to just put it into action. Again, on average, how long would you say this typically takes for one of your customers?
Couple of hours.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Then that takes me to my last question, which would be, what are the KPIs that your ideal customers, again, these SaaS companies, SaaS leaders that want to make their AEs and SDRs more productive and spend less time on research, What are the success criteria, the KPIs that they should use to measure Lead Labs and the progress with Lead Labs, and what quantifiable outcomes can they expect? What would you say there?
Yeah. So depending on whether you were selling an SMB where you have a larger TAM, and then you have a couple of personas you're reaching out, but don't burn those TAM also, because Lead Labs gets you ready with the messaging and with a hyper without sacrificing personalization in a couple of minutes. But still, I see that people are leaning towards automating that if you're reaching out to the below the line guys like managers and technicians and all. But
Yeah.
the KPI that kind of increase your connect rate by 30 to 50%, because you can time your messaging based on the time stamp they are mostly active during. We have 70% of accuracy depending on how active that person is. Now, the second thing is time to response velocity, that can come down to 24 to 36 hours, rather than you have 3 4 phone calls, 3 4 messaging, nudging them on LinkedIn, typically like 7 or 8 attempts before somebody start gearing up that, hey, who's this guy who's desperately wanting to talk to me? So it creates faster recall value, and they kind of are likely to respond to you faster. The second is more activity and more account penetration, because it saves humongous amount of time and get you ready with all the research thing that you need. Plus, the mentally reps don't feel exhaustive, because research takes a toll. It's mind numbing, boring, laborious, exhaustive, and nobody signed up to join the company to do that. So it's taken as a task. When you start taking it as a task, whether in the beginning of the day or towards the end of the day, it burns you.
Mhm.
We take that toll away, so you're mentally very good there. So response rate, connect rate. We're not saying you're gonna 3x your response rate, otherwise I'll be scamming you. But the likelihood of getting a response because you're putting the best messaging forward.
Mhm. Is going to be increased. I like that. So connect rate, velocity, account penetration for those that maybe doing account-based sales, account-based marketing, trying to contact multiple champions within a company to try to make a use case. They should see a big improvement there. And there you have it. Lead Labs helping you know what to say, when to say it, and most importantly, how to say it. That's been
Yes.
amazing. Thank you so much for this content, Sandeep. Is there anything else you would like to share with the audience before we wrap it up?
No, I mean, we're super excited about the things coming up. We are coming up with an automated sequence porter or sequence generator that will have crafted messaging with the follow-ups and everything that can be literally pushed into your outreach or sales loft of the world on a click of a button. And those are going to be based on the real data. We don't have database, so we do analysis in real time. So no more the stale data that you get from other providers who've been around for decades now. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm not vilifying them, but those are essential tools. But how about relying on a real data that you have at hand?
And I like
And
it because I like what you just gave us a sneak preview, the sequences, because you just showed us how to draft one message using all these different signals. And at some point, you even said, hey, how about we save these signals for a future message? Well, probably
yes,
the sequence is going to do that. Don't burn all your bullets in one message. Try to save, provide, of course, value packed every message, but save a little bit of something so that you have multiple attempts and over time be able to have that connection, that conversion, and move forward the deals.
so that's why we have persona builder, that you have unique pain points. Let's say you outline 4 or 5 points, 4 or 5 value props. So in your follow-up messaging, probably it's going to pick the engaged content rather than self-written content. Pain point number 2, the value hypothesis that you provided there, and have a completely different context, keeping in mind that you're transitioning from your first messaging well.
That sounds incredible. There you have it. If you are a sales leaders from a SaaS company hoping to make your team more efficient, reduce the research time, and increase the conversions, the connect rates, etc., you should go to the CloudTask Marketplace and take a look at Lead Labs. You're going to be surprised. Sandeep, thank you so much for your time. It's been an amazing episode, and I hope to catch you in a future one.
Sure, Eddie. Thanks for having me, with you. Really incredible. You are a great host, and looking forward to, you know, seeing some traction as well there.
Excellent. It's been my pleasure. I hope to catch you in a future one. All right.
Sounds good. Thanks, Eddie.
Awesome. Bye bye.
Bye bye.